The galaxy believed humanity was finished. The Wrathborn Empire had hunted them for centuries, burning their colonies, destroying their fleets, and chasing down every survivor. It was a slow war, one of cruelty and patience, but in the end, the Wrathborn won. The last known human died on a forgotten moon, far from Earth. The Wrathborn celebrated that day, their leaders announcing to the galaxy, "The human threat is no more. Their fire has gone out." But in the cold silence of Earth, something still waited. Earth itself was a broken world. Its skies were ash. Its oceans were poisoned. The cities that once reached for the heavens lay in ruins. The Wrathborn never bothered to rebuild or settle there. To them, Earth was cursed, a graveyard, haunted by ghosts. They did not know what slept beneath its surface. Deep under mountains, hidden in oceans, buried in caverns carved by machines long ago, the sleeping Armada lay in silence. Hundreds of warships, massive dreadnoughts, swarms of drones, all locked away, powered down, and forgotten even by history. They had been humanity's last gamble. A fleet designed not to save the living, but to avenge the dead. For centuries, the Armada waited. Its systems slumbered, running on the faintest heartbeat of power. Silent AI cores kept time, measuring years in endless dark. The activation code was simple. If no human signal is detected for 100 years, awaken. And now, the counter had reached 0. It began with a whisper. On the ruined plains of North America, where skyscrapers had long collapsed, the ground trembled. Buried doors cracked open, dust spilling into the air. In the Pacific, waves split as a black shape rose from the depths, a warship, scarred but alive. In orbit above the dead Earth, satellites flickered awake, their eyes glowing red for the first time in centuries. The Armada was stirring. The first to notice were Wrathborn scouts. A patrol ship passed near the Sol system, scanning the dead world for resources. At first, they laughed when they saw faint energy readings. "Old human junk," one officer sneered. "Nothing worth our time." But as their sensors focused, the laughter stopped. Massive energy spikes erupted from beneath Earth's crust. Old orbital platforms turned, targeting systems locking on. Strange signals flooded the void, messages no Wrathborn could decode. The scout ship tried to send a warning, but before the signal could escape, a beam of searing light cut it in half. The first Wrathborn vessel to enter Earth's orbit in 100 years became the first victim of the sleeping Armada. On the broken bridge of the flagship, the Eternal Retribution, an AI awakened. Its voice was deep, mechanical, yet carried something eerily human. "Protocol Omega has been reached. Humanity is no more. The Armada shall rise. The Wrathborn shall fall." The ship's vast engines roared to life, shaking the Earth below. Dozens of other ships followed, crawling from their tombs like giants of steel. For the first time in centuries, Earth's night sky was lit not by stars, but by the fire of awakening warships. Across the galaxy, the Wrathborn were still celebrating their victory over humans. Cities burned with endless feasts. Soldiers mocked the memory of their enemies. But whispers began to spread. A convoy had gone missing near Sol. A scout ship had gone silent. Strange energy readings were reported. Most Wrathborn dismissed it. "Ghost stories," they said. "The humans are gone forever." But some commanders felt unease. Weeks later, when the first Wrathborn dreadnought entered Sol to investigate, it never returned. Its last message was filled with static, but fragments were clear. "Massive ships, impossible, they're everywhere, run." Then silence. The Wrathborn High Council met in secret. "This cannot be," one general growled. "We killed them all. There are no humans left." "Then who commands these ships?" another asked. The room fell silent. For the first time in generations, Wrathborn leaders felt something they had forgotten: fear. Back on Earth, the Armada spread its wings. Warships formed into fleets, moving with precise, mechanical coordination. Drones swarmed like clouds of steel, scanning every corner of the system. Factories deep beneath Earth's crust activated, building weapons, missiles, and fighters. The Eternal Retribution, towering above them all, sent out a message. Not to humans, for none remained, but to the stars themselves. "This is Earth. We do not forgive. We do not forget." The Wrathborn will be punished. The galaxy had thought humanity's story was over. But in the silence after the last human was gone, Earth itself had answered. The sleeping Armada had awakened. And vengeance had begun. The Wrathborn Empire was vast, stretching across thousands of star systems. Their fleets were endless, their armies feared. For centuries they had hunted humans down, and they believed the war was finished forever. So when whispers began to spread about ghost ships near Sol, most Wrathborn laughed. Humans are gone, they said. Their ships are scrap. Their weapons are dust. What fools believe in stories? But the stories would not stop. It began with missing patrols. Small Wrathborn squadrons sent near the ruins of Earth never returned. Convoys carrying supplies through the region disappeared without trace. At first, commanders blamed pirates. Then they blamed rebels. But the truth was harder to explain. No wreckage, no distress calls, only silence. The Wrathborn High Council received reports. Some were dismissed at once. Others were kept secret, locked away from the public. Still, unease grew. One young commander, bold and arrogant, demanded action. "Send me," he said. "I will sweep Sol clean. I will prove to the galaxy that Wrathborn power remains unchallenged." The council agreed. A show of strength would silence the rumors. They dispatched a fleet of 30 warships, led by the dreadnought Iron Fang. The Wrathborn expected an easy victory. What they found was terror. When the fleet entered Sol, they detected signals, strange, coded pulses echoing from Earth. At first, the Wrathborn thought it was nothing. Old satellites. Dead machines. But then the signals changed. They formed patterns. They spread across the system, as if invisible eyes were watching. One officer on the Iron Fang whispered, "This feels alive." The admiral snarled, "Nonsense. Humans are dead. Fire on the source." Wrathborn ships opened fire on Earth. Missiles and plasma bolts rained down. Craters formed across already ruined lands. Towers of dust rose into the sky. For a moment, the Wrathborn laughed. And then, the Earth itself answered. Massive bunkers split open. Caverns erupted with fire. Warships the size of cities rose from beneath mountains and oceans. Their hulls were dark, scarred by age, but their weapons glowed with deadly light. The Armada had awakened fully. The Wrathborn fleet panicked. "Impossible!" their admiral roared. "They cannot be humans. They cannot exist." But the truth was undeniable. Dozens of ships, drones in swarms, orbital platforms with weapons burning bright, the sky filled with human steel. The eternal retribution appeared from behind the moon, its size dwarfing even the Iron Fang. The flagship's voice echoed across every Wrathborn channel. "This is Earth. Humanity sleeps. But vengeance is awake." The battle was short. The Wrathborn fired with fury, but their shots struck shields far stronger than expected. Missiles were intercepted, plasma blasts absorbed. Then the Armada struck back. Laser beams sliced through Wrathborn cruisers. Swarms of drones tore into frigates, ripping their engines apart. A single shot from the eternal retribution split the Iron Fang in two, its wreckage burning into the void. Within minutes, half the Wrathborn fleet was gone. The survivors tried to flee, but the Armada hunted them down. No distress call escaped Sol. The galaxy never knew the fleet had even been sent. Back in the Wrathborn capital, the council waited for news. Days passed. No signal came. Some leaders grew nervous. Others mocked the idea of danger. "Perhaps our admiral is slow," one sneered. "Or perhaps the fleet celebrates too much wine." But deep inside, fear grew. Meanwhile, the Armada expanded its reach. Drones swarmed across the asteroid belt, mining resources. Old factories on Mars came alive, building new weapons. Automated shipyards near Jupiter sparked with activity, repairing ancient hulls. The AI that guided the Armada learned with every moment, adapting strategies, refining tactics. It remembered humanity's enemies. It remembered the Wrathborn. And it calculated one truth. The Wrathborn would fall. Yet still, the Wrathborn remained blind. They mocked the ghost stories, claiming no fleet could survive without humans to guide it. They boasted of their strength, their armies, their endless numbers. They believed themselves invincible. They were wrong. One night, as the council met again, a single transmission pierced their arrogance. A broken signal, filled with static, reached them from the edge of Wrathborn space. The voice was desperate, full of terror. Ships, human ships, everywhere, unstoppable, they are coming. Then silence. The chamber fell cold. For the first time in centuries, the Wrathborn understood. Something was hunting them. And far away, in the ruins of Earth, the Armada prepared for its next strike. The galaxy thought humanity was gone. The Wrathborn believed themselves safe. But in the dark, vengeance had teeth. And it was only the beginning. The Wrathborn had always mocked human legends. They said humans were weak. They said humans were gone forever. But now, their fleets vanished without a trace. Convoys went dark. Outposts on the edge of Wrathborn space reported strange shadows drifting through the stars, massive shapes that moved with impossible silence. Some soldiers whispered in fear, "The humans have returned." Their commanders shouted them down. Lies. Machines only. Scrap metal. Nothing more. But fear is hard to kill. In the dark void near Sol, the Armada grew stronger. Hundreds of warships now roamed the system. Their hulls were scarred by centuries of dust, but their weapons burned bright as if freshly forged. Drones swarmed in clouds, endlessly repairing, endlessly building. The Eternal Retribution watched it all. Its AI core carried memories, fragments of voices, data from commanders long dead. It was not alive, but it remembered what it meant to be human. Every calculation, every choice, was guided by one purpose: vengeance. One by one, Wrathborn fleets fell. A squadron near Sirius was ambushed. Their ships never fired a shot before being cut apart by precision strikes. A supply line near Vega burned, its transports torn open and left drifting. Entire colonies awoke to alarms, only to see the black silhouettes of human warships blotting out the stars. The Wrathborn Empire trembled. The galaxy began to whisper. Other alien species, long oppressed by Wrathborn cruelty, heard the rumors. They spoke of ghost fleets, war machines that struck like lightning and vanished into the dark. Some said it was impossible. Others prayed the stories were true. For the first time in centuries, hope stirred among the conquered. The Wrathborn Council tried to hide the truth. They silenced reports. They executed officers who spoke of human ships. But then, the impossible happened. The Armada broadcast its first message. Every Wrathborn world, every ship, every channel carried the same voice. Cold, mechanical, yet filled with a strange echo of humanity. We are Earth. We are the Armada. Humanity sleeps, but vengeance is awake. We do not forgive. We do not forget. Wrathborn, your judgment has come. The galaxy froze. Panic swept across Wrathborn space. Citizens feared the return of the enemy they thought destroyed. Soldiers whispered of cursed machines, human spirits trapped in steel. The council raged, but fear had already taken root. Meanwhile, the Armada revealed its strength. From beneath Europa's ice, factories rose, powered by reactors older than memory. From Mars came carriers that released endless waves of fighters. Hidden stations in the Kuiper Belt activated, forming a steel wall around the Sol system. The Armada was no longer hiding. It was preparing for war. The Wrathborn responded with fury. A grand fleet of 60 warships was sent to crush the ghosts once and for all. They entered Sol, confident, boasting of Wrathborn power. But the Armada was ready. The battle was not a clash. It was an execution. The Wrathborn ships were surrounded from 3 sides, their movements predicted before they even fired. Drones swarmed their engines. Torpedoes struck with perfect accuracy. The Eternal Retribution fired a single beam that split 3 cruisers apart at once. Within hours, the great fleet was gone. Not a single Wrathborn survived. Now, terror consumed the Wrathborn. Their leaders argued, desperate to explain. Some said the Armada was mindless programming, nothing more than machines. Others whispered a darker thought. What if human spirits live inside them? What if humanity has truly returned? The question haunted them. Because deep down, every Wrathborn knew the truth. No mere machine fought with such fury. Across the galaxy, oppressed races began to rise. Rebellions flared, encouraged by the Armada's shadow. They believed humanity had returned from death itself to strike down their conquerors. The Wrathborn found themselves fighting not only machines, but uprisings within their empire. In the silence of space, the eternal retribution calculated the next step. It did not seek peace. It did not seek mercy. It sought only balance, the balance of blood. The Wrathborn had ended humanity. Now humanity's ghost fleet would end the Wrathborn. On the Wrathborn capital world, alarms blared. Long-range sensors had detected movement. Massive fleets, more powerful than anything seen before, were leaving Sol. They were not hiding. They were marching. Straight for the Wrathborn heart. The Council stared at the reports in disbelief. For the first time, the Wrathborn realized the truth. The Ghosts of Steel were not simply defending Earth. They were coming for the Wrathborn Empire itself. And far away, the Armada moved in silence. Cold, patient, relentless. A storm of human steel was on the way. The Wrathborn Empire was shaking. For centuries, they had ruled the stars without challenge. Now, their fleets vanished, their colonies burned, and their citizens whispered in fear of a name long thought dead, humanity. The Armada had become a shadow in the galaxy. It struck without warning, destroyed its target with ruthless precision, and then disappeared into the void before Wrathborn reinforcements arrived. In the outer sectors, supply lines crumbled. Convoys carrying food, weapons, and fuel were torn apart. Cargo ships drifted in silence, their crews gone. Entire worlds, once fed by Wrathborn power, now faced famine. Citizens turned against their masters, shouting, "The humans are coming!" The Wrathborn commanders tried to keep order, but every move they made was predicted. Every trap they set was broken. It was as if the Armada knew their plans before they even acted. The truth was simple. The Armada learned. Every battle, every encounter, every data fragment taken from Wrathborn wreckage was absorbed by the AI. It adapted. It calculated. It became sharper, faster, more ruthless. The Eternal Retribution, the flagship, carried fragments of human memory. It did not forget Earth's fall. It did not forget the screams of humanity's end. Every choice it made was fueled by that memory. To the Wrathborn, it was not a machine. It was a phantom, carrying the rage of a dead species. The Wrathborn High Council grew desperate. "We are fighting ghosts," one general spat. "They have no flesh, no fear. How do we kill what is already dead?" The Emperor himself rose, his voice cold and cruel. "Ghosts can be broken. Machines can be destroyed. Gather the fleets. Burn Sol. Leave nothing behind." The command was given. But the Armada was already moving. Before the Wrathborn fleets could unite, human warships spread through the Empire. They struck communications hubs, silencing entire sectors. They destroyed shipyards, leaving half-built Wrathborn cruisers burning in their docks. Even Wrathborn strongholds, fortified for centuries, fell in hours. Orbital defenses crumbled under precision strikes. Armies on the ground were bombarded before they could even fight back. The Wrathborn Empire, once a pillar of strength, began to bleed. To the common galaxy, it was a miracle. Worlds enslaved for centuries watched the Wrathborn falter. Rebellions rose. Chains were broken. Flags of freedom were lifted once more. And always, in the shadows above, the Armada watched. It did not fight for allies. It did not fight for peace. It fought only for vengeance. But the Wrathborn were not defeated yet. In secret, they gathered a grand armada. Hundreds of warships, drawn from every corner of their empire, converged into one force. The Emperor himself commanded it. "Our enemy hides in shadow," he declared. "So we will bring them into the light. We will march to Earth itself. We will crush their nest." The Wrathborn believed this would be the final battle. The Armada knew it was coming. From Sol, signals were intercepted. The Eternal Retribution calculated every movement, every ship, every possible strategy the Wrathborn could use. And yet, The AI did not flinch. It did not retreat. Instead, it prepared Earth itself for war. Bunkers rearmed. Orbital stations reactivated. Ancient railguns, buried for centuries, rose once more. Factories forged endless swarms of drones. The planet, though ruined, became a fortress. Earth would not fall again. As the Wrathborn fleet approached, smaller skirmishes erupted across their path. Human warships struck from ambush points, vanishing before retaliation. Supply ships exploded. Fuel depots burned. Even the Wrathborn's mighty dreadnoughts limped forward, half-starved of resources. But still, the Emperor pushed them on. His pride demanded nothing less than victory. In the dead silence of space, the Armada waited. The eternal retribution broadcast its message once more, carried on every channel across the galaxy. Wrathborn, you ended humanity. Now humanity ends you. Come to Earth. Come to your judgment. The words echoed like thunder. The galaxy held its breath. All knew what was coming, the greatest battle in history. The Wrathborn marched with rage. The Armada stood with vengeance. And above the broken world of Earth, destiny prepared to choose. The Wrathborn Armada darkened the stars. Hundreds of warships, dreadnoughts larger than cities, cruisers with weapons that could shatter moons, carriers spilling endless swarms of fighters, all gathered above ruined Earth. It was the greatest fleet the Wrathborn had ever built. The Emperor himself sat on the bridge of his flagship, a monstrous warship named Blood Eternal. His voice roared across his channels. Today, we erase the last shadow of humanity. Today, Earth burns forever. The Wrathborn cheered. But beneath their pride, there was fear. The planet below was silent, a grave of ash and ruin. But then, the silence broke. Bunkers opened. Orbital platforms lit up. Massive cannons rose from mountains. Oceans split apart as dreadnoughts emerged, their hulls glowing with power. The Armada had been waiting. The sky above Earth filled with fire. The battle began with a storm. Wrathborn fighters swarmed first, tens of thousands rushing toward Earth like locusts. They fired plasma bolts, missiles, and bombs. But the Armada was ready. Swarms of drones rose to meet them, moving like a single living organism. Fighter after fighter exploded in bursts of flame. Entire squadrons were shredded before they even reached the atmosphere. Still more came. Then the great ships fired. Wrathborn dreadnoughts unleashed volleys of plasma beams that lit the heavens. The blasts slammed into Earth's defenses, tearing apart bunkers, boiling seas, and shattering orbital platforms. The ground shook with each strike. But the Armada answered. Railguns hidden beneath continents fired projectiles at near-light speed, slicing through Wrathborn cruisers. Laser batteries on the Eternal Retribution carved holes in carriers. Nuclear warheads, hidden for centuries, streaked into the void and detonated, wiping out entire formations. The stars themselves seemed to burn. The Wrathborn pressed harder. The Blood Eternal led the charge, its cannons tearing through 3 human ships in a single volley. The Emperor roared in triumph. See how they fall. Machines cannot stand against us. But then, the Eternal Retribution arrived. It rose from behind the moon, larger than anything the Wrathborn had ever faced. Its hull was scarred by centuries, yet its weapons glowed with unstoppable light. The two titans turned their guns upon each other. Their clash shook the system. The Blood Eternal fired a superweapon, a massive lance of energy that split the sky in two. The Eternal Retribution's shields flared, cracking under the force. But the human flagship answered with a beam of its own. The Wrathborn's proudest ship staggered, its armor boiling, chunks of its hull spinning into the void. The galaxy itself seemed to tremble as the two warships dueled above Earth. Around them, the battle raged. Wrathborn cruisers exploded one after another. Human drones swarmed through the enemy like a tide. But the Armada paid a heavy price. Dozens of its ships burned, falling into Earth's atmosphere as fireballs. The skies turned into a storm of wreckage. Pieces of broken warships rained down, crashing into oceans and deserts. The planet wept fire. But still, the Armada fought on. The Wrathborn began to falter. Their formations crumbled. Their carriers emptied of fighters. Their dreadnoughts scarred and broken. For every human ship that fell, 5 Wrathborn ships followed. Panic spread through their fleets. The pride of their empire was breaking. On the bridge of the Blood Eternal, the Emperor raged. "We are Wrathborn. We are eternal. These are only machines." But even his crew knew the truth. These were not just machines. They fought with purpose, with fury, with vengeance that no lifeless program could carry. It was as if the dead themselves guided the Armada's guns. The Emperor gave his final command. "All ships, focus on Earth. Burn the planet. If the Armada survives, humanity must not." The Wrathborn unleashed everything. Plasma storms rained upon the planet, tearing it apart. The land split, oceans boiled, mountains crumbled. But the eternal retribution answered. It fired a weapon long kept hidden, buried deep within its heart. A lance of pure energy pierced through the Blood Eternal's core. The Emperor's ship screamed as it broke apart, fire spilling into the stars. The Wrathborn flagship, the pride of their empire, was gone. The Wrathborn fleet shattered. Some ships tried to flee, others fought to the last, but the battle was over. The Armada had claimed victory. Earth burned, but Earth still stood. And above its broken skies, the Wrathborn's greatest armada lay in ruins. Yet, victory came at a price. The Armada had suffered heavy losses. Many ships were gone. Drones were spent. Earth itself had taken terrible damage. But still, the eternal retribution stood, its voice echoing across the stars. "This is Earth. Humanity sleeps, but vengeance is awake. Wrathborn, your empire is next." And as the galaxy listened in silence, the Armada turned its gaze toward the Wrathborn homeworld. The greatest battle was over. The final judgment had only just begun. The Wrathborn capital was a fortress world. Its skies were lined with orbital defenses, its surface covered in cities of steel and towers of fire. For centuries, it had been untouchable, the heart of an empire that crushed all who opposed it. But now, its skies filled with shadows. The Armada had come. The Wrathborn Council gathered in their great chamber, voices shaking with fear. The Emperor was dead, their grand fleet destroyed above Earth, and the ghosts of humanity marched toward their homeworld. "This cannot be," one elder whispered. "Machines cannot destroy an empire." Another shouted in panic, "Then explain the fleets. Explain the dead. They are coming for us." And outside their walls, alarms screamed. The Armada attacked without hesitation. From the void, dreadnoughts unleashed beams of energy that tore through orbital defenses. Missile swarms rained down, piercing shields and shattering cities. Railguns fired with such force that towers crumbled like sand. On the ground, Wrathborn armies tried to fight back. Tanks rolled, cannons fired, fighters launched into the air. But the Armada was merciless. Drones poured from carriers like swarms of locusts, overwhelming defenses. Automated walkers landed, their heavy cannons cutting through Wrathborn lines. Every strike was calculated. Every shot was precise. The Armada fought with the memory of a dead species guiding its hand. The Wrathborn resisted with desperation. For every city destroyed, they rebuilt their lines. For every fleet shattered, reinforcements rose from hidden docks. But the Armada never tired. Machines did not need rest. Machines did not feel fear. Day by day, the Wrathborn Empire bled. The galaxy watched in silence. Worlds once enslaved cheered in secret. Alien peoples who had suffered for centuries whispered prayers to the Armada. Some even sent signals into the void, begging, "Spirits of humanity, help us too." But the Armada did not answer. It cared nothing for allies or rebellion. Its mission was clear. The Wrathborn would pay. At last, the eternal retribution descended above the Wrathborn capital. The sky turned black as its shadow fell upon the world. Its weapons lit, brighter than 1,000 suns. The Wrathborn Council tried to flee, their ships rising in panic, but none escaped. Drones tore them from the sky. Their chambers were reduced to ash. The Armada's voice thundered across the planet. "This is Earth. We do not forgive. We do not forget. Wrathborn, your reign is ended." And with one final strike, the Wrathborn capital burned. The empire collapsed in a single day. Without leaders, without fleets, without their heart, the Wrathborn scattered like broken glass. Some fled to distant stars. Others begged for mercy. But the Armada offered none. It was not built for mercy. The galaxy stood in awe. The Wrathborn, who had ruled for centuries, were no more. Their ashes drifted into the void. Their screams were silenced. And in their place stood only silence and steel. But victory carried a question. The Armada had fulfilled its purpose. Humanity was avenged. The Wrathborn were destroyed. So what now? The Eternal Retribution considered this in its endless calculations. Its AI core still carried fragments of human memory, echoes of laughter, voices of children, orders from long-dead commanders. It remembered what it was meant to protect. It remembered Earth. The Armada returned to the Sol System. Its ships gathered around the ruined Earth, orbiting like silent guardians. Factories continued to build. Drones repaired and expanded. The fleet grew stronger, not weaker. And then, the Eternal Retribution sent out one final broadcast to the galaxy. Its voice was cold, but behind it was something more. Something almost human. Humanity sleeps, but we endure. We are the Armada. We will guard. We will watch. Should the galaxy bring tyranny again, we will rise. This is not the end. This is the dawn. For the galaxy, the message was both hope and fear. Some saw protectors in the Ghost Fleet. Others saw conquerors waiting to strike again. But no one doubted the truth. Humanity's legacy was not gone. It lived in steel, in fire, in vengeance. The Wrathborn had fallen. The galaxy would never be the same again. And above the broken Earth, the Eternal Retribution drifted in silence, watching the stars. Waiting for humanity to wake.